The following is a presentation of the Radio Misfits Podcast Network.
From the birthplace of modern winemaking, Sonoma, California, welcome to the Winemakers. Local experts Sam Couturi, Bart Hansen, and Brian Casey invite you to listen in as they discuss all facets of winemaking. So sit back, pour yourself a glass, and let's hear what the guys have to say this week.
Hell yeah.
Oh.
Hell yeah.
You're fine. Yeah.
That's a fat pour, Danielle.
That's the
I was not getting the sound that I wanted, so I had to go
She
big.
must be
But I'm
working
going to
really
share.
hard.
I'm going to share.
the 11 a.m. White Burgundy pour.
Oh, nice. I didn't even notice what we were drinking. We got some Marceau open. Sweet.
Yeah.
Hey, welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Winemakers Podcast.
Wow.
That's all I got.
What's all you got?
Post-harvest hammers on nails in the background. Sorry to those people that don't like the thumping
The sound quality.
sound quality. It's not
How we
getting any
separate
better.
the wheat from the chaff around here. You can put up with us. You can put up with anything.
Yeah, there's someone working on the front deck. This house was built in 1898. Once in a while, the plumber has to come and do both toilets.
I was going to hold off on my plumber story till
No. Get into it.
till shout outs.
Get into
I want
it.
to give Bowden Plumbing a shout out. Yeah, so, I get the call as Brian is leaving the tasting house on Saturday that we need to get the plumber out to run the line. The toilets are backed up. So I come down and, the guy, Max from Bowden Plumbing, shows up and I'm like, this guy's out here at 8 o'clock at night working his butt off. It's raining. It's kind of, so I can give him a bottle of wine. So I go, what kind of wine do you like? No, I go, do you drink wine? And he goes, yeah. And he goes, I drink all kinds of wine. I was like, oh, well, what do you like? He's like, what have you been into lately? And he goes, I've been liking like real lean, minerally petite Syrahs. Lately, I've gotten into Gruner Veltliner and Riesling. Like only in Sonoma.
Sonoma Plumber.
Sonoma Plumber is gonna drop Gruner and minerally petite Syrahs at 8 o'clock on a Saturday night.
Are there lean, minerally petite
Petite
Syrahs?
Syrahs?
That's what
Yeah,
I
I've
think.
never
I
heard
thought
those
of like
words in the
Mountain
same
Tide.
sentence before.
Exactly.
Scott Kirkpatrick's brand that doesn't exist anymore. That made.
I'd hardly call them lean, though.
They were pretty petite Syrah.
Maybe it's lean for petite Syrah.
And hey, we're
Right,
talking about
right.
a plumber. Let's yeah, it was awesome. I gave him a bottle of Muchos Piedras and 24 Marsan Rusan. He also said that our hot water heater is going to live forever.
Good
boy,
news.
you should have never said that.
Not forever, but it's going to. So, because he was like, oh, I love the hot water heater. You saw the hot water heater, right, Brian? Covered in stickers. If you're listening, you've probably put one on there. And he goes, oh, I love the hot water heater. And I was like, yeah, we're really sad. It's 10 years old. We're figuring, we're going to like figure out what to do with all the stickers because we're probably. And he's like, you don't have to replace this yet. And because it's been like out in the open and cleaned and in fresh air, it's in great shape. And then he goes, and it has companionship. I was like, all right, I like this plumber.
But that's not what the last person that came out and fixed it said. We had about 6 months to live
Well,
on that thing.
yeah, he makes a commission or something. I don't know.
Yeah, he's got one for sale.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Who's our guest today, Brian?
Oh,
I know we can go in so many different directions. We haven't gotten together for a while, so I want to
not-
hear about
it's not that
harvest from
obvious.
you guys.
Yes.
But maybe we should bring him into the fold. This is Brian London, who has a wine distribution company, but also is the wine buyer for a restaurant in Petaluma. So that's how he kind of got on our radar when Jasmine and I
TCP.
were
shout out TCP.
Table Culture Provisions in Petaluma. And Jasmine and I were thinking about going to dinner there. And of course, we always kind of scout the wine list out. And when we looked at the wine list, we were like, we needed to know who was in charge of the wine list because it definitely had its own personality to it. And what caught my eye immediately was the fact that he had a Emmy wine, Rosalind Reynolds wine, but then also a Domaine La Baroche wine.
Two
by
former
the,
podcast
and these are
friends
by
of
the
the pod.
glass. So I'm thinking, okay, there's definitely a person behind this. So we went in for dinner, had an amazing dinner. It happened to be restaurant week. Brought a bottle of pure white to have to start with, and then we're doing
Wait, bought or brought?
brought.
Oh.
Yeah,
Oh, the pure white.
the pure white,
Yeah.
and then because we had to pair it with the Chateauneuf red by the glass.
Yeah.
I still
And
haven't gotten to taste that yet. So
The pure white?
yeah.
So keep telling Phil that. That's what I kept telling Phil, and then eventually a bottle shows up. And shout out to Stanley Top.
Oh, yeah.
From Paso Robles, because the last time we actually got to drink some, I think it was the new release. I think it was a 24 that he got from like Julian in France, brought it to Paso Robles, drove it up with Burns up here, and then we drank it
Oh, that's right. Like sitting around
at
the
your
tasting house.
dad's house when we were doing
Oh,
some dinner
I wasn't
up there.
there for that dinner.
Oh, you missed a lot of stuff at that dinner.
By the way, his name's not Stanley Top.
Is it
Stanley Barrios.
Stanley Barrios
Barrios.
from Top
Top Winery.
From Top
Yeah.
Winery. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Great people, great wine.
Hey, Brian, what's in our wine glass? Not that Brian.
So
the
we
other
asked,
Brian.
we asked Brian to come on and talk to us, and I told him bring some wine, so he brought a little Merceau to start the show. How's it going?
Which should be a tradition if you come. If you would like to be a guest, I don't care what you make.
I enjoy being a trendsetter, and so here you go. All right, so this is the 2020 Maison Harbor Merceau Premier Cru Poroso. So Maison Harbor was one of the first wines that I started to work with when I started the import company. Met him in 2013, which was his first harvest, and so we've been working together ever since.
So you started your own import company, and I always think I'd love to start my own import company just so I can go to France and just go around and taste wine and have it be work.
Yeah.
Was that kind of your background? I mean, how did you fall into this?
Was this a tax shelter? Is that what you're asking?
I didn't say that,
Well, I had
Sam.
to set up a single member LLC first, and then prior to 2008, I was in a completely different industry altogether, and 2008 was a very bad year for that industry and for most, but mine specifically. So I had to do something else. So we started. I came up here for Harvest, actually to Napa, and worked for Mike Herbie for a couple weeks. I went back to San Diego. I was living down there at the time, and knew I wanted to get into the wine business. Met a woman who became my wife, and we started the wine business together. So doing California wines, and that was the genesis of Foreplay Wine Consultants.
So you didn't work in the industry at all before,
Nope.
but you obviously had a passion for wine.
Yeah, I liked wine. Yeah. So we started that in 2008, and then in 2013, one of our wineries gave us a trip to France as a thank you for the work that we had done. And so I said to my wife, if we're going to France, I'm starting a import company. I like wine from France, and
Yeah.
I certainly like it more than I like wine from Napa. And so she just
Wow.
sorry.
Wait a minute. Wait. You're among friends.
Nobody who knows me thinks that that's a shocking statement from me. So I just started the import company while we were over there. Met a couple of people. They introduced me to friends that they had that moved into the business, and just started.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
So wait, because you got a weird situation at TCP where you technically, like we were asking for the Somm when we went in,
Mm-hmm.
and then somehow got a hold of you, and then found out. Tell me how that whole situation started.
Okay, so I have a group of friends that wine friends, guys in the business, guys who are chefs, and then other guys who like chefs and like guys in wine business and like wine and food. And so we went to TCP to eat dinner, and we ordered a bottle, and we weren't satisfied
With
the bottle.
the bottle, okay.
Brian's
The
wondering.
food was great, and this bottle was not that great. So one of my friends who knew one of the chefs took me into the kitchen, introduced me to the chef, to Stefan, and I made a tasting appointment, brought him some wines, and they started to buy some wine from me. And And in April of 2023, they did or 22, one of those, I can't remember which one. They did a remodel of the restaurant and asked me to take over the wine list. So I became the wine director. And that was my first job in a restaurant.
Yeah. So, and how often do you actually work on the floor?
Two times a week.
Oh, it's my dream job.
Yeah.
Do a tiny wine list and show up 2 days a week.
Yeah. Oh, no. I only work the floor 2 days a week. I'm there 4 days a week.
Okay.
But, yeah.
And how many tables are in TCP?
7.
7 tables. Yeah. Have you been there?
No, I was telling him that we haven't made it there yet. There was one night where we talked about it, and I called to make a reservation, and they scoffed at me. It was probably you.
I don't scoff. They don't let me talk on the phone.
Okay. Yeah, they didn't really scoff, but they're like, you need to make a reservation a little sooner than this. And they said, do you realize how small the place is? Yeah. I go, yeah, I used to eat there when it was.
Yeah, what was it before?
Petaluma time.
It was Chili Joe's.
It was Chili Joe's, yeah. And before that, it was.
And you didn't need
another
a
French
reservation.
restaurant.
What was the wine list like at Chili Joe's?
I think it was more of a beer list. But it was a French restaurant before. Brian, you would remember it. And
I never went there. I know Pinky's is like across the street. Right. I'd been there, but I'd never been to that restaurant.
Yeah.
No.
I went to Bijou, which is the sister restaurant, right? I went for my birthday this year. It was really good.
And that's fairly new.
Yes.
Yeah.
About 6 months old.
Okay.
Yeah, I was there in July.
On Kentucky?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like catty corner to the Shuckery.
Yeah. Bank of Marin.
Bank of Marin.
Bank of Marin forever. Sam, that was all
what
just
was
for
the wine
you.
list like there?
Across the street from where it used to be Mattei Brothers. Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's my funny story. I'm going to share this.
Brought to you by Downtown Petaluma.
Chamber of Commerce.
I'm going to tell this story. So when I was a kid, my mom and dad my dad was a painting contractor, and they had a retail store, and they used to send me to the bank, and I would just take this envelope. Yeah. And I'd go and I'd just hand it to the merchant person, and then I'd come back with the receipts. And there was a park in between the shop and the bank, and I would always stop in the park and play on they have some old World War I era cannons, and I always sit there and play on them.
You talking across from PDQ?
Yeah.
And
so, no, different park. And anyway, okay. And so I'd been gone for a long time, and my mom called the bank and said, "Is Bart there?" And they said, "No, we haven't seen him." And they immediately freaked out that I got robbed because what I had in the envelope was a big envelope full of cash.
Those zipper bags.
And I was supposed to go to the bank and then come back, not hang out in the park.
So, wait. You stopped at the park first.
Stopped at the park first, yes. All right. Back to...
Okay, I have a question. How did you go from the previous profession that got beat up in 2008 and to go I'm going to be in the wine business? Because that's, it's an abrupt turn.
Yeah.
Obviously you were a wine guy before that.
Yeah.
But even financially, it's not like a...
Well, no, it's not like...
It's not a wise decision.
Here's my... Yeah, exactly. here's my get-rich-quick plan.
Yeah, that part's always been a challenge for me. My decision-making at that point was a little strange. I just decided, I thought about what I wanted to do. I didn't really know. And so I needed to do something and needed to get out of the house primarily. Right. At that point, I was still living in San Diego. And I called up Mike and said, "Do you need a little help during harvest?" And he said yes. So I came up for 2 weeks and worked harvest, and
just like a salad.
Yeah,
cleaning
total
the press.
rat. Yeah, punch downs and cleaning everything under the sun. Yeah, and so I went back to San Diego and figured I don't know how this is going to happen, and just decided. But I knew I wanted to do it.
He knew he didn't want to work in the cellar anymore.
Yeah.
Well, that was and I'm really good at sales, and I can talk, so I have I have some opinions, as I've already shown, and it just kind of happened. I met, like I said before, I met a woman who became my wife, and she was in the wine business, and so it was a fortuitous first meeting. And as soon as I saw her, I fell in love with her, and we just decided this is what we want to do with our lives. So that's what we did.
So what was your wine life like before you?
What wine?
Yeah,
what wine did she pull out that you went? This is my woman.
That's a better question.
It kind of went the other way around. It was a little strange too, and especially based on my comment earlier. But she was in the wine business. I was. We were living in San Diego, and we didn't have a cellar because there's no cellars in San Diego. So I had my wines stored at a variety of places in San Diego. And so one of the guys who owned one called me and said, I've got a woman coming in. She has a wine that you have in your locker. Would you come and taste with me? Because I've never tasted the wine. Let me know what you think about it relative to this other vintages. And I said, sure. So she came, walked in the door. As soon as the door opened, I fell madly in love with her. It was a pre-wine thing, and it was a wine that I don't want to mention. But
no.
Yeah. What? It wasn't. It was a wine from Napa. But I said, I have this in my cellar if you'd like to try it, and that was the end of it. So, but to gain back some respect, I brought her to Burgundy with a 1999 Gevrey Chambertin Premier Cru Comme Moine. So,
well played, young man. Well played.
I had a moment. Yeah. I was like, this is what I need to do, and I executed. So it worked out well.
So how is it now getting wines from France brought into the U.S.?
It's been much more difficult since the pandemic started, because prior to the pandemic, shipping was my most reliable part of the business. I knew that if I ordered something and it was at Le Havre and it left on X date, 6 weeks later, it would be in my cellar. And then after, during and then since the pandemic, it has become more and more difficult to get wine here in any kind of predictable way.
So how long now does it take, or does that not what it's about?
It can take anywhere from 6 weeks to I've had it take 6 months, because they change the routes. They pass Oakland to come back here. And now with the tariffs, it's at this point in time, I'm not doing anything. I can't buy things not knowing how much they're going to cost me when they arrive. And so because I pay for everything up front, it makes it much more difficult, because as soon as the tariff, as soon as they name what the tariff is going to be, as soon as wine hits customs, they take the money out of your account. So I can't consciously do that,
right?
Not know what my economics brain says. Don't price without knowing what you're paying.
Did you work in finance originally?
Yeah.
The date and the way you're talking about it, I figured that's what it was.
Yeah. Well, New York Jew. What else would I be doing? Living in New York.
Diamonds
at the same time.
Watches.
I had friends who did that stuff. Yeah.
Send all your hate mail to Brian Casey at winery16600.com.
My wife works in finance, and 2008 was a dark year.
It was rough.
Yeah.
I was a compensation guy, and that was not a good time to be an executive compensation guy. Yeah.
So then how do you, like the list at TCP, how do you come about picking those wines? Is it solely based on food and wine pairing?
No, the only part that's really on the pairing is the pairing itself. Everything else, I tried to pick wines that speak to me, that have a sense of place. That's always been a big thing for me. I like small production wines. I like wines that aren't trying to be something they aren't. And so for me, it's always been about finding small producers and then being able to bring their wines out and introduce them to as many people as I could. And so that's how we built Foreplay at the beginning. That's how we built Passionné du Vin, which is the import company. And that's how I decided to build the list. It's a small list because, with 7 tables and a tasting menu format, it doesn't really make sense to have a massive list. And I didn't want to have that kind of a list. I wanted it to be much more direct and really focus on, what the restaurant does well and what they wanted to do, which is, they're very local in where they source their product from. So I wanted to have wines from Northern California as well as wines from France and Italy, just because those are the wines that matched what kind of wine, what kind of food we were serving at that time.
How often do you flip the list?
As often as they change it, which is every 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah.
This last menu has been around for a little bit longer than that, but I've still made changes within that time, just from tasting other things and being exposed to other kinds of wines. I just like to keep things fresh.
It's so great because I've worked with lists that are 600 bottles and some that are 80 bottles, and the smaller lists are so much more fun to work with.
Yeah,
because the servers actually know what they're working with.
Yep.
They can answer questions, but then you can do something like that. That's kind of cool. So seasonally, you can kind of flip some of the things on the menu depending on what the chef's doing.
Absolutely,
which is kind of cool. And you always find something fun and interesting. You find a pig pool that's submerged in a shark tank.
Are you still telling that story?
And you're like, that has to be on the list.
Yeah. You got to carve the barnacles off. Yeah.
So speaking from your wine buying face, not your wine importing, not selling, what's going on now? And you're at fine dining. What are you seeing as far as sales reps and supplies and
how do they get? Do people call you and let you come into let them come into the restaurant, or do you reach out to them?
Most reach out to me, but I work with a small number. Being one of those guys, I have a pretty high standard for what I want to see. To answer your question, it's always been difficult for me to have to listen to other reps. Not being a rep, and being the owner of the company and going out in the market and selling wine. When people ask me a question, I can actually answer it, and answer it with a great degree of certainty. And I also believe in every wine that I take out. If I don't like it, I can't sell it. It's just not my.
You don't have anybody telling you got to put this in your bag for the next 3 weeks.
No, that's a bad idea. Yeah. So
tell you or to do that in general.
The best way to get me to not do something is to tell me I need to do it. So that's
I understand.
That's a shout out to my ex-wife. But it's interesting now. Because of where I am, people bring things to me that I don't ask them to bring. And some bring things that are complimentary, and others bring things that I have and knowing what I do, bring things that I import, which is a little strange to me. But what I really like about working at Table Culture is the fact that they allow me to do what I want to do in terms of how I present the tasting menu, how I present the pairing, what I pair. There really has not been very much pushback, if any pushback at all, from them as to what I'm doing with the wine list. I like to keep it small. I don't want it to be big. I like the fact that I have the pairing, and I like the fact that they let me talk about the wines and really give an education to the customers about why I'm pouring this with this particular thing. And when I look at reviews and people say I've never had an experience in a tasting menu where the sommelier says this is why I'm pouring this. They tell me what the wine is, but then they walk away. Yeah. And so that was one of the things I stressed to them that I wanted to do, that I wanted to be able to give people an experience that's different than what they do. And when you come to Table Culture, it's different experience. Yeah. Not just the wine, the food, the presentation. It's a fine dining experience, but in a fun place where you can talk and laugh and enjoy yourself. Yeah.
Awesome.
Brian, when you were there, Brian Casey, did you get the tasting menu?
There's Casey and there's London.
Yeah. So we were there during restaurant week, so it was an abbreviated menu. So of course, Jasmine wanted caviar, and we knew that they had some in the kitchen. So how
did you know that they had?
Well,
some
we
in the
had
kitchen?
seen previous menus. So this just happened to be
They do their
restaurant week. We're
research.
like, there's got to be caviar in there somewhere.
Reconnaissance. Beyond research.
Yeah, and I think we might have sent a glass in of the pure white to the kitchen. So we were like, hey, is there any way we can get a little caviar? So then the chef made on the fly, like a homemade ranch dressing with caviar on the top of it, and then did some like cottage fries, French fries. So that came out of the kitchen. The restaurant's super cool, but I think you and I have talked about this. Like when the stars came out, Enclos got 2 Michelin stars. I don't know that TCP will ever get Michelin stars because they don't hit all of the specific criteria for Michelin stars.
Like, what do you mean?
So there's certain things that you have to do. I mean, which involves even the way you greet someone when they come into the restaurant, from pulling out a chair for people, from replacing a napkin. There's like, you've seen it at French Laundry and Enclos. Those things are all required for you to do to actually get a star. That's why I think they typically do like 3 visits on you. Right. But a place like that, what Brian was talking about is it's fine dining. It is fine dining, but it's in a little more casual, friendly atmospheres, which is what a lot of restaurants are doing. And then at that point, you don't hit all the marks that you have to hit to get a Michelin star. So they'll probably get mentioned by Michelin or get Bib Gourmand or whatever. But
no, we're recommended
by Michelin. But they're
not doing all the annoying parts.
You'd have to completely change everything. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting.
Also, like, this place is already fucking impossible to get into.
Well, yeah, it's 7 tables in one turn.
Like, oh,
can
hey,
you imagine?
we're booked until 30:30.
Yeah, then they would be really rude to you on the phone. Like, don't you know who we are?
We fired that guy. By the way.
We have Michelin stars.
I mean, there's also this idea of that the Michelin stars in France or Europe are different than the experience of Michelin rated restaurants in France is different than here in the United States, because of just the way, I mean, it's America, it's not, France. And it's much more uptight here than it is there. They can deliver Michelin quality at a more comfortable experience.
Is that so they don't have to do the annoying parts all the time?
No, I think they do, but it comes more naturally.
Oh, okay.
Is what the argument that I had heard.
Naturally, no, I cannot finish that.
Have you been to a starred restaurant here in California? It's almost, a lot of things feel scripted.
Yes.
And
for sure.
Sam knows sometimes I try and get people to like talk like a normal person, but especially when we went to Enclos, they hadn't quite gotten their stars yet, and so they were very
leaning into it. Yeah.
They were in the pocket. It was like, nope, this is this mushroom from this place, and excuse me as I slowly bow and walk away from the table.
The way that Brian Casey breaks the fourth wall in the restaurant experience, it doesn't have to even be fucking fine dining. What you do it everywhere.
Yeah, didn't work there except for Larry, and thank God Larry's there because
you tried hard.
He's the grease. He's the grease of the cogs. Yeah. Yeah. All right, let's talk about this. Holy shit! What are you doing bringing a
11-year-old
14 Beaujolais?
Well,
just smell it, and then you'll know why.
Yeah, exactly. And this is actually aged quite a bit in the past 18 months. It's a little more advanced now than it was the last time I had this. So this is the Lassagne 2014 Beaujolais from Sonoma, Vieille Vigne. So Sonoma is the northernmost village in the Cru Beaujolais, borders on Fouissé and Mâcon. And André Lassagne, when I first met him in 2013, we had a really beautiful conversation. We tasted a bunch of his wines, and he poured me at that point a 2005 Sonoma, and I thought it was the most incredible thing I ever tasted. I never had experienced, a 8 or 9 year old Beaujolais at that point in time. And so I said, I'd love to work with your wines. And he said, make me a promise. I will not sell you the wine unless you take 10 cases of every wine that you buy from me and you hold it for 10 years before you release that wine. I want to show people that these wines can age. On all of his vines that he owned were in Sonoma and Juliana, which are the 2 northernmost crus. And so I happily did it. And so the first wine that I ever poured in a TCP pairing was this.
Wow.
And so,
Do you remember what it was paired with?
no.
Okay.
But it was interesting because number one, it was at that point, 10-year-old Beaujolais. Number two, it was red wine being poured first. And I got pushback from almost everybody until they tasted the wine.
Yeah.
Am I wrong to say that I think that aged Beaujolais is much more compelling than a young Beaujolais? Like a young Beaujolais to me, sometimes I'm like, yeah, it's good, and you just don't.
But the fruit dominates.
The fruit dominates, and it's that immature fruit. And
well, it depends on
that's compelling wine.
Yeah, it depends on where. I mean, how and what they're doing. I mean, everything that his wines are all old vines. He has one parcel, or had one parcel that was about 135 years old at that point, still unrooted. Everything about it was incredible, and so his wines had a freshness and a vibrance that was really interesting. And so, as it's aged, it's kept that, for lack of a better term, that tension. But it's developed this much more interesting kind of overall aspect to it, which I think is really, really beautiful.
Yeah, it's maintained that acidity.
Yeah.
Well, and from the first sip to the one I just had in like the 5 minutes, it's opened up and there's more fruit and freshness than there was when it first hit the glass.
Yeah, it's incredible. So, I worked with him until 2016. 2017, I actually got married at his property, which was really fun.
Wow.
And then 3 weeks after the wedding, he sold the property because his kids weren't in the wine business and didn't want to continue the domain. And he was tired, and I can understand that. I worked harvest with him in 2015.
Wait, was there a second where you said how much?
Well, there was a second where I said to my wife, we should buy this.
Right.
And move here. And this is what we should do for a living, except neither one of us know how to farm. And, we can sell it, but we have no idea what to do from point A to point B. Yeah. And this was before I knew, Sam, so I couldn't really do anything. But it was definitely a thought, especially at that point in time, because Beaujolais was extraordinarily undervalued. Yeah. When I bought my first wines from him, they were, I think my cost was €4, which that was the price to me, but
per bottle you're talking about, so like $6.
Well, the exchange rate then was $1.42, so it cost me 42% more. Which didn't make me happy, but it was what it was. Yeah. That was the start of a very long, very productive part of what was going on.
Do you know what happened to the property?
Yeah, he sold it to another gentleman who contacted me and wanted me to continue to work with his wines. And I'd asked him what his strategy was, what he was planning on doing. Were you going to change the name of the domain and change the labeling? And he said yes to all of those things. And then I asked, what are you going to do with the vines?
And I want it all sold in the first 6 months.
Well, not without me. Right. So I asked him what he was going to do with the vines. He said, well, I'll keep the more productive ones, but I'll get rid of the lower producing ones, which were all the ones that I liked. Yeah. So I said, I'm not your guy.
Yeah.
You need somebody who is looking at, margin and looking at X, and that's just not.
Yeah. That was the finance of wine growing right there.
Yeah. Which I understand. And, from Andre's perspective, it had been in his family for so long, he didn't really, that wasn't really his focus. His focus was, I'm going to farm the best fruit I can farm, and then I'm going to sell it, to people who have the same amount of passion for this that I do. Yeah. And it was a really nice combination. And, he was just indicative of the rest of the people that I worked with in France, that, they cared so much about their soil and what they were doing. Yeah. And, when people would ask me, why do you like to work with these people? It was simple. They spend 10 months every year farming this beautiful fruit, and then 6 weeks in the cellar trying not to doing things that wouldn't screw it up.
Try not to fuck it up.
Well, just staying away from, I'm trying to not swear. It's not really working for me.
You can swear on this
I understand.
podcast.
I asked, but still, my mom is going to listen to this. So it just became,
You just tell her that you were nervous.
we already had that conversation, and she knows that that's not true. It just became, a point of I felt like I owed it to them to be, as engaged in what they were doing as they were.
Yeah.
And if that wasn't the case, then I wouldn't work with them, no matter how good their wines were, no matter, how much the, pricing worked, it was always the relationship. Mm-hmm. And so that's what we tried to focus on.
Yeah.
Was 14 the last vintage that you worked with them?
No, I have 15 as well.
Oh, cool.
So I have 13, 14, and 15.
So you might have in the United States, you might have the last of
Oh, I'm the
wine.
only guy. Yeah. He didn't have any importers before me, and I was the last one he had. So.
Yeah. And so this is currently on the list there, or the 15?
No, nothing.
Nothing.
Nope.
So it's in your cellar.
Yeah.
Got it.
It's delicious.
Yeah. It's so weird tasting a Beaujolais where the acid isn't matching that crazy fruit.
I don't usually drink the wine on the show, even if I
Yeah,
like
I know.
it.
I noticed that. Sam's usually pretty good about spitting.
Yeah, me too.
I'm struggling with this.
This one's pretty good. It's kind of hard to do.
Yeah.
Especially because basically I've spent the last, Danielle knows, the last 3 weeks tasting half fermented or just fermented wine.
Yeah.
I brought you some today.
Yeah, I'm so excited.
Your palate is definitely right.
And the 2025 is a wonderfully tannic vintage. And so this is very exactly what I needed, apparently.
Yeah, nice amuse-bouche, nice palate cleanser.
Well, I thought about what it was that I could bring that would be interesting, and
these are definitely
fun. Yeah.
and fun wines. Thank you so much for sharing with us.
It's my pleasure.
Can we talk about harvest a little bit?
Absolutely.
You guys want to tell your harvest stories so far, where you're at and what you did?
Okay, I guess I'll start. So I've been working at Annaba with this year's Vine Pair Winemaker of the Year. Katie Wilson.
Yeah.
My money was on Capiello.
Shots fired. Super proud of her. She definitely, that woman works so hard. She actually, at the beginning of harvest, she had this crazy cough, but kept coming to work because it's not like you can take a day off. And that's when it's really crazy and really busy, and you're out in the vineyards in the morning and then coming and supervising fruit crush and just super long days. And she went to the doctor and it turned out she had pneumonia.
Oh my God.
And they're like, okay, so you need rest. And she's like, uh-huh.
Yeah. And that, boys and girls, is what it takes to be the winemaker of the year.
Yeah, well, it just reminded me of
pneumonia.
I don't know if anybody is a tennis fan around here, but when Pete Sampras won the U.S. Open, when he was it was just a match, but he won the U.S. Open match when he was puking on the side of and I was just like, that guy knows how to play tennis.
How many tons is Annaba?
I think it's 300.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that include custom crush?
Yeah, that includes custom crush. Yeah.
Yeah, Katie can't take a break because she's also doing Reeve, Bloodroot, LaRue.
Reeve, Bloodroot, LaRue. Cobb is at, some of his wines are there, but she doesn't
crush.
They crush there, but it's just custom crush. She's not what's it called? Consulting on those wines. And then Mark also brings the Moon Hollow over there. Which is some of my favorite Sauvignon Blanc. It's so good. So it was a cool harvest. I got to see a lot of different stuff that I don't normally see, mainly a lot of Pinots. Yeah. I got to taste a lot of carbonics. Which I also did
for the Annaba brand. What's the carbon?
She does them for Reeve and for Annaba, okay. And then I did a Gamay this year, carbonic.
Fingers crossed.
Right, it's tasting really good. Some really great white pepper. Yeah, I'll have to, now that I know this, I'll have to save a case just to see how it ages.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's been a.
What about for yourself? What else did you get?
So we brought in Cab from Moonridge, from the Moon Mountain District. Grenache and Mourvedre from Rossi, which that's what I brought today. It's now entering extended mass. And then we did Syrah from Foxy and the Hounds. And that was actually a really fun day. I got to actually go to the pick, which I don't normally get to do these days. But I brought the family, and we had a little John Deere like tractor mower that they had a little trailer on, and we went around and gathered the fruit. We used some FYBs, and the kids were there. And then after that, I went and watched them crush the fruit, and then Dan dropped off the truck we rented, and then we brought the kids over to Phil's harvest celebration party, and that was super fun.
The Abbey Roads.
Yeah, the Abbey Roads. And that ended the grape harvesting for the season, so it was really fun.
Well, that weekend ended a lot of people's grape harvesting.
Yeah, it was about to rain 2 inches, so we had to bring everything in.
And Bart, what do you got? Because last time I think the guests heard from you, you were, you had limited things due to some health concerns.
So health concerns are behind me at this point. So my harvest this year was a little bit abbreviated in that I decided to not make quite as much wine as I normally would emotionally buying, and really focused on the wines that I needed. Right. Yeah. Sam, much to Sam's disgust. So I focused on what I need to, resupply, because I have beautiful wines in barrels and have some wines that I'm just releasing that I'm super excited about. So we focused on the Sauvignon Blanc from Liquid Sky,
cool,
the new Chenin Blanc from over in Napa, and then the Rosé. And I had the ability this year to cold ferment the Rosé and the Sauvignon Blanc in tank, which has been great. Just watching the fermentation go ever so slowly.
Why was that different this year?
Just because tanks were available. Jamie Kutch never got to a point where he needed all of his tanks, and so he allowed me to use them. And then we have the Zinfandel that from over on Carragher, Go for Run, which also came in and beautiful. Almost dry, which is great because in the past that's been a vineyard that's been very slow to ferment. So that's where I'm at. I'm thrilled. I think quality is great. I didn't have any big, huge tannin issues because I basically made white wine, with the exception of some Zin that instead of letting it go dry on skins, I pressed it at about 5 bricks, and it's continued to ferment. So that's been great.
Lucky. Woo!
Yes, exactly.
Bart, do you normally so when you don't have access to cold ferment, do you barrel ferment your
Chenin was barrel fermented?
Okay.
Yeah.
And then just put it in the barrel room where it's cold?
Yeah.
Yeah. And now you have a tank with glycol.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then also the Zin, the reason why I think the fermentation has gone along nicely is that it never got down in the 60s. It's been kind of sitting at 72 because I've been able to keep the tank warm.
Yeah. Give the yeast a little happy environment.
Right. As opposed to stressing them out.
When they get too cold. Yeah.
So anyway, I'm thrilled with this year's harvest. And
how's the Chenin tasting?
Chenin's tasting phenomenal. Completely dry. Now the decision is let it go through ML or arrest it.
What do you think?
I don't know yet.
Well, you have a crew here, which would be happy to give you some advice if you wanted to bring in a sample.
If you want 4 opinions that are all different,
right.
Bring it by.
I want to add to the confusion.
I think the first thing that will help with that is sending a sample and see how much it's moved on its own, just through fermentation. And who knows, maybe it's already done.
That does happen sometimes. Yeah,
it certainly does.
Yeah.
How's the Sauv Blanc?
Sauv Blanc's solid, and again, like negative numbers and ready to, you can tell the pinging is pretty much stopped, and let it clarify. I think I'll rack it off clean, and I do have one more empty white barrel, so I'll probably put one in barrel and then leave the rest in a topped up tank.
I just tasted our version of that this morning. It's pretty delicious.
Yeah, pretty delicious.
The way the muscat plays in it.
Yeah.
And, ours also had some Viognier, so it could make sure it was different.
Fucking Alejandro.
No, I grabbed it from we grabbed that morning that we picked it. That little corner of the Liquid Sky Syrah block, or like Rhone block that has, those 2 short rows or 3 short rows of Viognier. So
because when I went over to go help bottle, this is not last year, maybe it was the year before, it was bottling Homage Blanc, and we were somewhere, and Alejandro was there, and so him and I were tasting the Homage Blanc right before we were bottling, and I smelled it, and I'm like, this smells like Viognier, like it's got some apricot and peach, and he goes, that's the secret. I put a little bit of Viognier in there before we bottle.
We have done that we didn't do it in 24, but we're definitely like a 1 or 2% Viognier add to the Homage Blanc changes everything in a positive way.
Yeah,
there's been vintages like that. Now with the Claret coming in and that new barrel, I don't think we need it, but the Viognier kind of like did what that did.
And the Sauvignon Blanc is what we tried last week, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah,
cool. But do you want to talk about anything?
One thing I just have one thing to complete mine is that what I found very interesting is in 2021 I bought a new puncheon that was supposed to be for white fruit, but never ended up happening, and I put my Rossi fruit in it, and it was just a portion of it, and it's magical. And I tell you what, like to the point of like, I'm going, oh, what's wrong with this wine? And then when I kept tasting and tasted not in the winery, I realized it was the oak that had shifted the paradigm of the wine in a very positive way. Yeah. And of course my sensitiveness, I'm like, it's over oaked. And I've tasted people and they're like, God, it's so good. And all I can think is it's a little bit of beautiful oak really shift it. Yeah. So I don't know. I was always such a neutral oak guy on Grenache and Mourvedre.
Well, if you do just a tiny bit right with the larger formats, I think it can be just and you have to use the right producer. You can't bring in those crazy overbearing, albeit I love it on like Syrah or Cab producers.
Double Fs.
The double Fs, yeah. I love Francois Ferrer. I think that they do a great job with
other things
like Syrah and Cab, or not. I never put Cab on it, but yeah, with Grenache, it's overbearing.
Yeah.
So, do you want to talk about? I saw an article in the Press Democrat yesterday.
I mean, a little bit of a misleading clickbaity sort of title headline, but the article itself is good and true. We're the best part of what's happening right now with Enterprise is promoting Maria. We had a meeting like 6 months ago and we were talking about sort of just doing some strategy things, and Maria went through a list at the beginning of the meeting of the duties that like a COO of Enterprise Vineyards should have. And then, like a half an hour later in the meeting, she goes through and talks about all the things that she's been doing for the last couple of years. And it was the same fucking list. I was like, and I don't know if anybody else kind of like God, I was like, did she know that she just said the same things that she said 20 minutes ago? So that's
when in fact she did know what she was saying.
Yeah, probably. She knew before I did. So that's great, and hopefully the goal is we more hours of Phil's 60-hour work week are in the vineyard and not in an office, and that'll be what the success of any transition and movement is.
I like the quote of where it was said about how he wants to be out pruning with the crew.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
that is
the happiest
Phil
he
seems
is.
To be happiest.
The happiest he is when he's out pruning his vineyard, 100%. Yeah.
And he listens to podcasts.
He listens to our fucking podcast.
He comes in here afterwards and he tells me, he'll give me like feedback.
Yeah, tell you all the things that we said that were wrong.
He's like, I was out there in my vineyard and I was listening to the podcast. I was listening to an interview the other day with Guillermo del Toro. Do you know who that is?
Yes.
The director. And him and your dad are like the same guy. Phil is like the white Guillermo del Toro. I'm gonna send him the interview because it's a great interview on Fresh Air on NPR. The way they
Terry
talk,
Gross, shout out.
yeah, the way they talk is very similar. I don't know if
I
Guillermo
love Terry Gross.
took poetry in school, but it's just a way of speaking. They seem like they're brothers, long lost brothers from another mother.
Did the same amount of the same drugs or something?
I don't know.
I mean, if you've seen his movies, it's possible.
100%.
Well, he's got a new Frankenstein coming out that's based actually on the Mary Shelley book, which is very different because it was all letters written in different perspectives. And so it seems like when I heard, oh great, another fucking Frankenstein, but then you hear him talk about it, and it's like listening to Hardy Wallace or your dad talk. You're like, oh, I'm in 100%. All right, what are we drinking?
So this is
I'm still drinking the 2014 Beaujolais. I don't give a fuck what's on the table.
This is my 2025 Grenache Mourvedre from Rossi. It's about 50-50. I don't remember the exact percentages, and 25% whole cluster on the Grenache side. And this is like just entering extended maceration. So it's
when did we pick this? It was like Saturday. The Saturday of that?
It was the Saturday, yeah, before the rain.
Still tastes grapey.
So it's in tank right now. I am no longer doing pump overs on it. It's just punch downs to make sure the cap is wet. And then I'm doing a little lees mixing every other day and trying to build that middle. And
define lees mixing when you're on skins.
Okay, so when we used to have big tanks, what we would do is we had this special device.
Duncan intern with a scuba suit.
That we put in over the top, and it was like a little spigot on the end, and you would basically force feed wine from the bottom of the tank over the top through this to the bottom, and then move it around to kind of mix the lees. This is in a 2-ton like little tank, and so basically what I do, or the interns who are helping me do, is take a punch down device. You punch through the cap, and then you kind of pull the punch down device up and down really quickly until you get
Plunger.
like kind of like a plunger, but until you get like a movement of the juice, and then you will see the lees rise up to the top. And so that's just kind of inviting the lees back into suspension, since the primary fermentation is now pretty much over and you're not getting any more natural mixing of the wine. So kind of doing that right now. It's on a building of tannin. So we're on a increase. And so I'll probably wait to press this until early November. That'll be about 30-ish days on skins. And then I just wait for a valley in tannin.
Nice. It's beautiful color.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a crazy week of picking.
Yeah, you guys, yeah.
I mean, I think people are still sort of like coming out of the days.
I haven't seen anyone over at Enterprise Vineyards the last week. Like normally you see them kind of hanging out outside, but it's been like a ghost town. I think did you guys tell them to just go home and sleep for a week?
No, I don't think so. I mean, they might have. I mean, a big part of that is what those guys that you saw milling about over there were doing, maturity sampling, running sugars and pHs and squishing grapes. And so, that is over. But, EV picked the Monday that it started raining after the Vinyl Sunday was the 13th. So from the Monday before that, so it was like the 8th to the 13th, 8 days in a row, 3 days over 100 tons. One day it was over 120 tons, and right up until it started raining that Monday. Basically, the way that Murray described it was that we picked a month's worth of grapes in
you guys got worked.
8 days.
Yeah,
it was insane. And especially like crews like the Oakville Ranch crew, Luis's crew over there that just and the Cayman crew picking, just racing against time to get it all in. It was
Sam,
crazy.
the vineyard in Solano County,
yes, Green Valley,
accessed through Napa,
through Coombsville, yeah.
So what is that planted to, and who does that go to?
There is Chardonnay, there is White Rhônes, there's Syrah, and a mostly Cab Bordeaux mix of grapes out there. And most of that actually was picked after the rain, because it's a really cool spot.
I'm sure.
So, it takes a long time for stuff to go ripe up there. And that is made by Anthony Yount, down in Paso, in Denner. I think was at Denner and is sort of like ending his time at Denner soon, I think. And his family's brand is Royal Nonsuch Farms.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Great guy, great winemaker. That was another crazy pick because there was insane. It's out there in the middle of nowhere. There's not a lot. There's no other vineyards around really. There's some over the hill, but after the rain, when there was nothing to eat anywhere else, the yellow jackets in that vineyard were like nothing I'd ever seen. We walked through there, and there was like every bunch that was in the sunshine was covered in yellow jackets. So they did the picket. They started the pick at like 11 o'clock at night. Or even no, they started the pick even like earlier. It might have been like 6 or 7 or 8 at night, just once the sun went down, and picked until 1 or 2 in the morning, and then that fruit was loaded up and driven down to Paso.
And so his family is who planted it, or is it?
No, it's owned by a longtime friend of his.
Okay,
who's not in the wine business, is in the tech business,
right.
And trusted
Yeah.
Anthony with whatever to do whatever. I think there'll be a brand, and it's something Lake. I'm forgetting what the name is right now.
I was just wondering who would pay Phil to drive that much farther to farm.
Somebody who can afford it.
Did you guys hear about you just made me think of this in Virginia. I was listening to something the other day about winemakers in Virginia that they're getting infestations from invasive insects, the spotted lantern flies.
Yeah.
And their wine club members are going out. They give them those little electric zappers, and there's a contest for who can kill the most. Some woman that was on the other day had killed 1,500 of them.
Wow.
And they give you a glass of wine and you just go out there and kill them, because they said if they get too many of them that they will literally kill the vines.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought they were a vector for something. No, they just eat the grapes, or...
And would that not happen here
bad.
because we don't have the same humidity?
All I know is that we're worried about them coming to California.
Oh, so you guys have talked about it.
Well, people are always like trapping and trying to look for them. And
so far, I think they're mostly just on the East Coast. Though,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And there's definitely like a kill everyone that you see trend vibe. Like all over, like Virginia, like I said, Virginia, Pennsylvania, people are like stomping them on the streets, and I don't know what they do to the grapevines.
I don't know. I just know they're bad.
Fuck them up.
Yeah.
See, are we at 7 yet? Have you been counting?
Not even close.
Okay,
this is very calm.
I have a question for Brian London. So when you see a harvest like this, right, in California, where it's like, mild, we get some heat spikes, but then, it's really just mild weather. Then kind of the rain comes. Do you get excited because the wines that we produce here are going to be less high alcohol, high fruit bombs, more extraction? That is it kind of like the antithesis of what you don't like about Napa wines? Like, do you get excited to have a California year that the weather makes it so it's a little bit more French-like in a vintage?
I don't really look at it in that way. The wineries that I'm working with in California tend to be more in the European style to begin with. Smaller producers farming their own parcels, doing those kinds of things. That's really what I look for when I'm looking at wines. And those are the wines that I personally enjoy. And the ones that I work with primarily, or not primarily, I have one negociant that I work with from France. And it's this guy, but he makes at most 12,000.
He negotiated that one very well.
Yeah,
Yeah, he sure did.
yeah, he really did. So we can talk about him a little bit later. But the I prefer to work with farmers.
Gotcha.
So that part is pretty static.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of the other aspects, to me it's more about what you guys are doing in the vineyards to prevent bad things from happening.
Gotcha.
That's really what I focus on. when I'm in France, I'm spending more time in vineyards than I am doing anything else.
Yeah.
So we did. Could you talk about Maison Harbor, please?
Sure.
And then also, my other question is like, what do you drink? What do you reach for when you're at home?
All right. So I met Maison Harbor for the first time in 2013. It was 2 weeks after he transferred his wines. If we're talking about him, we might as well drink it. That's a good idea, Brian.
Not even 12 yet.
Thank you.
Oh, is it?
So
Hurry up.
I met him 2 weeks after he transferred his wines into barrel, and so his winery is in Sauvigny-le-Bon. So we went, and I actually met him on the Wine Berserkers website.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I was one of the early Wine Berserkers guys.
Yeah.
I was one of the guys that got kicked off of the board, the other board, by Squires,
Right.
because we didn't like what he was saying about everything. So I reached out to him and told him what I was doing, and I went to visit with him, and we're sitting in his cellar, and literally his cellar was 6 feet. And so hair, on whatever was growing out of the bottom of the floor was interesting. But his wines were so pure, even at that point in time. Everything that he did, he learned how to make wine, the way the Burgundy kids learned how to make wine. He went to Lycée Viticole. He worked really hard. And at the end of the harvest, some of his classmates would give him, a tank of this, a barrel or 2 barrels of that. And, he ended up with some incredible wines like Chassagne Montrachet Premier Cru en Remy, which is impossible to get, and Von Romani, Champerdry, and Comomoine.
So he is truly
he's a
negociant.
negociant. Yeah. He is 100% negociant, very small producer. He's he's probably the smallest that I do. So I've worked harvest with him a few times. I've helped him bottle a few times. And we have just kind of grown up together in that.
So
business.
Just to clarify for our listeners, negociant doesn't mean that you don't. Negociant doesn't mean that you buy bulk wine.
No.
Negociant just means that you don't own vineyards.
Correct. Yeah. So on the Burgundy labels, when you see domain, that means it's fruit from their own estate.
Right.
When you see maison, that
Right.
means that they're buying fruit.
Right.
But he, as a small negociant, as an example, there are certain vineyards that he's been working with for years.
Right.
And those growers give him the same fruit from the same rows every year. So it's as if they're his rows with being professionally farmed on his behalf, which is nice. And but stylistically, he learned how to make wine the way that they do. And so his style, as you can tell from this, is very fresh, very bright. Everything about it is to showcase what happened in the vineyard during that vintage. And 2020 was such a gorgeous vintage.
The fruit
in
that's
Burgundy.
come out of that in the hour and whatever that it's been open.
It's pretty amazing.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, I love 2020. It was one of my favorite vineyards of the past 15 years, and just everything about it was really good. It was that one vintage and if you look back, 17 was very cold, 18 was very hot, 19 was kind of up and down, 20 was just beautiful in Burgundy. And the problem that they had obviously was fruit, so or quantity.
Right.
So so this was actually one of the wines that we had. I had the 2021 on the wine pairing at TCP for the last incantation. Yeah.
So, Bart, are we technically negociants then?
Yeah.
Sweet.
I mean,
Yeah.
if we were in
You're a
France,
you're a
we would
maison.
be- We would be maisons.
we would be Maisons, yeah.
California winemakers.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and that's the conversation I have with a lot of customers at the restaurant. They ask what's the difference to me, between California wines and wines from France.
I mean, the number one question I get in the tank is, where are your vineyards at? And then I go through the whole thing of explaining it. That's for the really smart people that grow grapes.
Depends on the year.
No, but that is the question, is like, people don't understand that that it's not that simple just to buy property and plant grapes in California.
Right.
So
Well, the whole process is completely, different. There, the rules of succession set up that everything has to stay in the family.
Right.
So vines tend to go to the family in percentage of how many children there are.
Isabel, can you speak about that a little bit?
Bienvenue, Isabel.
So
Speak to Napoleon Law.
again, given my background in
Yeah.
finance, so it always fascinated me why, I could see things there that I couldn't see here. Like when I would go to wineries that I liked in California and say, "Can I see your vineyards?" They're like, "Well, they're not here."
Yeah.
And so, that separation between wine growing and winemaking is much larger here for the most part than it is there.
It can be. I feel like we're trying to come back to the importance of the relationship between growing and winemaking. And I think that, maybe in the 80s and 90s, it was looked at, especially at like UC Davis, as two completely different things. Like you're the viticulturist and the vineyard is over there, and this is the winemaker and the production side over here. And, you only meet to discuss when the fruit is picked. And like when I came out here in 2013, the first thing I did was do production, but then I immediately went over and asked Phil if I could have an internship in the vineyard because I wanted to see both. And I knew that I wanted to be on the production side, but I knew I had to have a basic understanding of the farming if I was going to try and make wine. And luckily I have, I get most of my fruit from Phil. Luckily, I have a great relationship with all of my growers. I mean, Phil grows the fruit or my husband grows the fruit. So,
So which grower do you have a better relationship with?
I mean,
depends on the day, I guess.
I mean, it seems to me that if you're a viticulturalist or you're a grower and you decide that you want to start and you don't make your own wine and you decide you want to make your own wine, that crossover is easier than if you're a winemaker and you want to start growing grapes.
Oh, certainly.
Right, Isabel? I mean,
It's a lot easier to make wine than it is to grow fruit.
Yes.
Hey,
yes.
Isabel.
but
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
John Q. Public maybe doesn't quite understand that.
Right.
Right. And that's what you try to educate them about, is that, it's almost two different brains.
Right.
It is two different brains.
Right. And I think going back to what you were saying, it makes it's a lot different now than it was, 15 years ago here. You're much more like you're engaged with Phil and Sam in what they're doing in the vineyard. And your philosophy is not I need to impart my style on these grapes in order for them to be differentiated from all of the other people who are buying fruit from Phil and Sam.
No.
And that's the difference. I remember, being at these tastings back in San Diego, and they would have a person come in, and it was all single vineyard wines, and they poured all different Pinot Noirs, all from different places, all around California. And, she said, these are so distinctive. They all have sense of place, saying all the right things. And then we're tasting them, and I'm like, these all taste exactly the same.
Yeah.
And so my friends and I decided we're gonna see what she thinks. And so we're gonna pour 3 different wines, and she said they're also distinctive. I can tell which one is which, and all of that. It's okay. We poured 3 different wines. She leaves the room. I poured the same wine in each glass. She comes back in. She tastes all 3. She says, this one's X, this one's Y, this one's Z. They were all wrong. None of them were the wine that I had actually poured in the thing. And I wasn't doing it to be mean. I was doing it because it was so hard for me to figure out why you would spend, as a winemaker, so much money to buy single vineyard fruit from not inexpensive vineyards, and then make them all in the same style so that they taste the same, not only from vineyard to vineyard, but from vintage to vintage. And why would you do that? I mean, if you're going to do that, why not just do, get wines from somewhere very much cheaper and manipulate?
Finance.
I think you do it out of frustration a bit, like I think that winemaking is an artistic pursuit, and where people kind of want to express themselves. And when you don't get to farm, you only have that one time a year where you can like be as loud as you can. And I think there's like this, I don't know if it's, sometimes it can be ego, I think. Sometimes it can just be eagerness, but I agree. I find it unfortunate, but I understand the rationale behind it.
I do too, but not for me. It's not for me.
No,
and I'm not going to, I'm not going to buy it, and I'm not going to sell it, and I'm not going to represent it, and I'm not going to put it on my list at the restaurant. It's just not something that, I want the wine to tell me something. And I want to be stupefied, and I want to be impressed, and I want to be thinking about it. And it doesn't, it happens with such infrequency that it's kind of frustrating.
Yeah.
And so, I want to be able to, use more wines from places, but at the same time, they have to be something interesting.
No, I agree. I always talk about like the holy trilogy between, you want to have balance between the sense of place, the fruit. Like I like having a varietal typicity, and the winemaker, you still want to get some style out of it.
Of course.
And so, but it has to be a balance of the 3.
Yeah.
And that's when things get really interesting to me.
Exactly. And that whole aspect is kind of what everything that I talk about when I talk about the wines when I'm at the restaurant, is that, the wines that we're presenting, like these wines, like this, or well, not that one so much, but this has everything to do with him and his philosophy. And your wines, I'm sure, have the same thing from what I've tasted so far. They have that same aspect. There's no ego involved. It's just, this is what my fruit presented. This is how I'm going to enjoy it, and this is what it's going to be like. And to be able to experience that over a period of time from now, where it's very, you guys just finished harvest, and we have some tank sample to all the way through, after bottling 5, 10, that's why I like older wines. They give us an expression that can only come from this place and from that time at that place. What else do you get to do and enjoy that gives you that kind of a understanding? It's hard to find.
Agreed.
It is hard to find. What did you find? What Isabel Gassier, welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
Isabel,
if you didn't know who that was.
Isabel, how's everything in France? How was the year in France?
It was incredibly challenging. Not the most fun growing season. High mildew pressure at the beginning. But that's always kind of nice to have so much rain in the spring. We've started going no-till on a lot of vineyards, and actually, because we're not cultivating, we're not bringing up spores, so we didn't have any mildew damage, which was a really happy surprise. That I really didn't expect.
Ancillary benefit.
Yeah, definitely. So that was helpful. And then a really bad heat wave in June and in August. So it got brutally hot in August, We're lucky we have access to irrigation. So, again, that was like, how do you come in just at the right time to give it just enough water so that the vines can perspirate and kind of withstand the heat. So that, we were all on it. So the vines did great. We expected to have less fruit because of the heat, but ended up having a full crop, which is nice. Started pretty early with certain whites and rosés, especially younger vines, because their, root system is so superficial. They're really affected by heat. Mm-hmm. Those I'm not super excited about, but everything that came in, like there's probably 20% that's nice. That's, not necessarily super compelling, but really fun to drink. Luckily, it's more of the entry-level kind of introductory wines, so it works out nicely. They're really approachable, really fun. Then it rained a bunch during harvest, and they kept like announcing like 1.5 inches, 2 inches, and we kept like not getting that, just getting 1/4 of an inch or 10 or like half an inch. Not even 1/4 of an inch was the most.
Millimeters, centimeters. What is the weatherman?
Millimeters. So we kept getting 8 or 10 when actually Southern Rhone got like 160, which would be like 6 inches.
Yeah.
So we kept being at the limit, and, we refused to bring in grapes that aren't ripe because, we'd rather have no grapes or highly sorted grapes that are ripe than having underripe wine. So we kept being really nervous about losing our crop, and then we would be able to let it ripen. So what came after is absolutely stunning. Cool. I like the reds better than the 2024s. They have a little more structure, which kind of gives them a lot of longevity,
Despite
I
all
think.
That heat and everything.
Despite all the heat, there was 2 vintages in the Southern Rhone. There were the people that had vineyards that couldn't really withstand the heat, and that can be because of, vineyard practices or vines that had already suffered from mildew damage, or just soils that had very little water retention capacity. And so there was the vintage where everybody picked by like September 5th or 10th with pretty
whites
rustic wines, whites and reds. And then there were the people who and they had to pick because, the alcohols were so high. Right. So that I hear is a little more rustic, or was at the beginning of harvest. I haven't checked in since. And then everybody that was lucky enough that they got to wait is really, really happy with the wines. So our whites are
Is there crop insurance in France?
Yes, there is. And it's subsidized by the European Union. Sorry for that flex.
That was a total flex. Maravich, I think you just ripped your shirt.
Not only is our crop insurance not in, we don't even have a federal government right now. So.
It's like 1/3 of it is subsidized or something like that, which is already helpful.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
Yeah. So no, overall happy, but freaking stressful and super long harvest.
Family still loves each other?
Family still loves each other.
There you
yeah.
go.
Actually,
And
it was
successful.
Yeah, exactly. No, my
Baseline.
dad and I are tight. We're lucky we get along. So
Cool.
yeah, he helps me with like his experience means he has more confidence and trust in the fact that things, kind of fall into place.
Right.
And I'm a little more nervous, and so I benefit from his experience, and so that's really cool.
Good.
Yeah, I'm learning from it.
I remember, so for those of you who don't know, Isabel worked with me when I was at Lasser Family Winery and she was teaching me about tasting Grenache in the vineyard and how you go out and you taste the grape, of course, and you chew it, but you really have to grind the skin because that's when you'll figure out how much tannin is left in the grape. And so we would taste, and it's easy to taste when Grenache isn't ready because it basically
it's painful.
It's painful to taste. It sucks all the moisture out of your mouth. So we were talking one year, and I said, well, in California, we have to wait forever for the Grenache to get ripe in normal years. And so I was like, well, what happens if it rains or we have a year when we have to bring it in and it's not ripe? Like, how do you mitigate that tannin in the winery? And she goes, you don't. She's like, you don't pick not right Grenache.
I kind of stand by that. I mean, if you want to make low alcohol wines, don't plant or buy Grenache. It's not meant for that. There's plenty of varietals that are adapted to that style of winemaking.
You have a 13% Beaujolais on the table.
Exactly. Like Gamay is perfect for that. Pinot's perfect for that. I mean, there's like a larger amount of wines of grape varietals that you can make kind of lower alcohol. Even Mourvèdre you can make, or Carignan. Like you have Rhone varietals that you can make low alcohol. Like Carignan at 13 is usually ripe. But Grenache is not ripe before it's like 15. So, don't plant Grenache if you can't.
If you can't get it right.
I mean, I learned that lesson about chewing skins with Phil and with Julia. And she had such a hard time with it because the sugar would be what it was, and that's what she was focused on.
Yeah.
And Phil was like, no, and here's why. And we go out and walk and taste and chew on skins, and it kind of started to make sense to her. So
yeah, and I think before that, I would chew the skins to like see what the color development was, and like if the skins were releasing the color, and like feel the tension in the skin, and if it's starting to soften. But I never really like grinded the grape skin like in the back of my molars, and then I was like, oh, there's where it is. There's where it releases. So yeah, it was a great lesson. Isabel Gassier taught me most of everything I know about Grenache.
Taught me everything I know about most things.
I don't believe that. You taught me way more.
Man.
You were my California education, the Couturiers in general.
Be careful there.
No, it's everything that you expect it to mean.
All right. Well, Brian, thank you for coming over.
My pleasure.
Wines are delicious.
Yeah, thank you for sharing such beautiful and rare wines with us. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Shout out again. How do you get a hold of TCP? How long in advance do you need to make to get
How
a
do you
reservation
not
to get a
get
table?
laughed at when you want a reservation?
If you want to go at a time where you can just call that day, Wednesdays usually. The restaurant's only open Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Saturday, you need a 3-4 week advance to get one.
Congratulations on that.
Yeah, those are good problems.
Yeah,
7 tables kind of helps, right? and one turn also kind of helps. So.
And don't worry, that laughing guy is not there anymore. So
yeah,
don't be scared to call.
Yeah, no, yeah, there will be no sarcasm on the phone.
There'll be sarcasm when they hang up with you. But
can't believe what this guy just asked me. All right. Any shout outs? Other than Bowden Plumbing?
Right, yeah. At the time of this being broadcast, wine club members have started receiving their wine. Thank you very much for this year. I hope you guys all enjoy the wines. Those of you here are local, just give me a call and come pick up your wine. It's all ready.
Got it all staged to the tank, ready to hand out?
Yep, sure do. That's about it for me.
Mm-hmm.
I just released the Jaume de Bois 2022 Cabernet from Moonridge. And we just did a wine club release. And right now we're doing a 15% off sale with the code FALL15. That's FALL15. So go to the Jaume de Bois website and pick your favorites.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cool.
Do you have any of the Rhones also on the website, or
Oh,
all
yeah.
those? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I need to go check that out.
Isabel's going to go to the website. I think you
I
could,
sure am.
I think you know people, but whatever.
Isabel, you can have whatever you want.
We're going on the road next month. So if you're listening and you're anywhere near Atlanta or Miami,
Miami.
Bienvenidos a Miami.
We are it's the Wednesday the 12th in Atlanta, Vine Club Atlanta, with Kelly Cornett, A Cork in the Road. So if you want to come to that, just email Kelly and say, hey.
Bovino After Dark doing the food. Just got off the phone with the chef yesterday, doing some cool stuff. Autumnal flavors to go with some of those Great Moon Mountain wines we're going to be drinking.
Shout out the name. This was my favorite Moon Mountain District event name that doesn't mention the word moon is what Brian has come up with.
Oh, we're doing 400 feet high and rising.
There we go.
We're doing a little, so DJ Austin Wheeler, who is actually now bringing one of his friends who's got a pretty cool vinyl collection. We're doing kind of 90s hip hop, but we're going to spin the original versions into the 90s versions. So for example, Herb Albert Rise into Notorious B.I.G., Velvet Underground into Tribe Called Quest. Just fun stuff like that with some radio edits.
David Bowie into Vanilla Ice.
I don't know that we'll be touching that one.
That's not the vibe.
That should be the vibe.
Says the winemaker behind the white rosé.
Right.
Hey, you guys copied me on that. Come on. It wasn't on purpose. It wasn't on purpose.
Wait,
That's
which
what-
vintage was that already?
2021
Yeah.
was the Rosé Blanc.
Yeah. And then going to Miami and we're taking over a cheese shop, Miami cheese shop, and inviting some of our wine club members come hang out with us, eat some cheese, drink some wine.
Well, if you're in Miami, also we're going there for Venus Icons.
Yeah.
Antonio Gallone's
Vinius, I don't know how to say it.
Vinous Icons.
Venus.
Call it-
Huh? I don't know. Yeah.
Vinius, yeah.
Vinuous. So yeah, we're gonna have a lot of fun at Vine
Sorry,
Pair
Tony.
Club.
Oops.
You're gonna have to ask him how to pronounce it.
No, I will not. Hey, I've been a subscriber and submitting my wine to you for years. How do you pronounce the name of this publication? Probably not on my list of things to say.
And then just released the New Year's Eve show, right?
Marty O'Reilly, as seen on TV. Marty O'Reilly.
Oh yeah, shout out to Marty O'Reilly
Check
on
him out. The Voice.
The Voice.
I've watched more The Voice in the last month.
Waiting for him to be on,
in
right?
the previous 27 seasons, in which I had watched zero The Voice.
And then also we're all going to Direct to Consumer Symposium. I don't know if you guys have seen. You got to send some headshots and some bios.
Mine are sent.
Fucking Danielle,
Can't
so
they
on
use-
the scene
just
like a
use
wine
last year's?
machine.
Straight A student.
Well, that's what I think. That's the move, right? Is to find your email from last year and then just forward it.
There you go. Thank you very much.
Come on,
Thank you very much.
Come on, Bart.
Well, I guess that's why I was on top of it because I didn't go last year, so I had to do a new email.
I got a shout out for our friend of the pod, G Love. G Love is selling Pinot Noir now. He's lent himself to
Down the
a
primrose
producer.
path.
Yep, and so he
and
reached
special
out.
sauce, G-Love?
Yeah.
No way.
So
He
he
was
so
on
he
the pod, friend of the pod. He's been on the show.
so he reached out and wants to come on the show the next time he's in the
Now he's got wine to
greater
sell.
Bay area.
Ah.
I said that's fine, but you have to bring your guitar this time.
Sweet.
So
All right.
anyway.
Want to sell wine?
Yeah. Good luck to you.
Sing for your supper, G Love.
All right.
Anyone that wants to go to TCP?
We,
You already got it.
We got it, yeah.
we're calling 3 months in advance now.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. Thanks for listening, everybody. If you have questions, send it to
Brian at winery16600.com.
Steakhouse.
Steakhouse.
For our listeners.
Thanks for listening, guys.
Subscribe, review, tell your friends.